Welcome to our session, Campus Culture and Your Responsibilities, Preventing Sexual Violence. My name is Regina Workhoven, and I am the Title IX Prevention Specialist within the Office for Institutional Equity. In this session, we will review important expectations that we have for you as students, as well as challenge you to think about your role in preventing sexual violence. First, we wanted to start by introducing you to our office. The Title IX Prevention Center's goal is to prevent and reduce the occurrences of sexual and intimate partner violence at the University of Memphis. We primarily do this through educating the campus community with trainings and events, and we also work closely with student organizations engaged in prevention work. The Title IX Prevention Center is embedded in the Office for Institutional Equity, which is responsible for ensuring our campus remains an environment free from discrimination and harassment based on sex, gender, race, ethnic status, veteran status, age, and other protected classes. This session will be focused on preventing sexual harassment, but please know if you encounter any other form of harassment and discrimination, the Office for Institutional Equity at the University of Memphis is a resource to help you. So what does Title IX mean for you? As a student, you are entitled to an educational environment that is free from discrimination and harassment in any form, including sexual harassment. The federal government enacted a law in the 1970s called Title IX to give you these protections. Based on that law, our university prohibits any form of sexual harassment, including sexual assault, intimate partner violence, including dating and domestic violence, and stalking. If you encounter any form of sexual harassment while you are a student at the U of M, you are able to file a complaint with the Office for Institutional Equity, referred to as OIE. OIE can provide resources and support to you. Examples of resources include putting a no contact order in place so that two individuals do not have to interact with one another, moving someone to a different residence hall, and providing academic accommodations, such as making sure that two individuals that are not in the same section or group project together. OIE also investigates alleged violations of our policy. If a student, faculty, or staff member is found to have violated our policy, the U of M can take action, such as suspending the student or terminating the faculty or staff member's employment. Reports of discrimination and sexual harassment can be made to OIE through our memphis.edu page. Once OIE receives a report, the Title IX intake coordinator will reach out to the complainant or alleged victim and schedule an intake session. From there are generally three paths that can be taken. 1, the complainant can request no further action. 2, the complainant can request an informal resolution with the respondent or alleged perpetrator. An agreement of some sort is consented to by all parties, and the grievance process then ends. Or 3, the complainant can request a formal investigation, which needs to be received in writing by the intake coordinator. The complainant will then be assigned to a campus investigator. No matter which option is chosen, the complainant has access to any of the resources mentioned previously. For more information about the investigation process, you can visit the policy page on our website and read policy GE2039, or you can email us at oie@memphis.edu with any questions you might have. Sexual violence is all too common, especially on college campuses. The University of Memphis is actively working to reduce and prevent sexual violence on our campus so that we can maintain a healthy, safe, and supportive environment to help our students reach their full potential. As students, you play an important role in this effort. This session will review steps that you can take to reduce and eliminate sexual violence in our community, including modeling healthy relationships, understanding and practicing consent, challenging harmful attitudes and myths about sexual violence, practicing bystander intervention, and getting involved on campus to educate peers on the subject. One of the most important things you can do to prevent sexual violence and intimate partner violence is to model healthy relationships in your everyday lives. One way you can do this is by practicing good communication. This includes having some important conversations early on in the relationship. The conversations you may want to have are whether the relationship is casual or more serious, what you want to keep private in the relationship, how often you want to communicate, and also by what means. Another piece of good communication is being able to set up and respect boundaries. This is important in not only intimate relationships, but also friendships and relationships that you have with family members. Boundaries are lines in the sand that people shouldn't cross. The more you set smaller, everyday boundaries, like when you can communicate, the easier it will become to set larger and more difficult boundaries, such as whether or not you want to have sex with someone. Finally, modeling healthy relationships involves being able to manage conflict in a productive and healthy way. All relationships will have some conflict, so it's important to establish fair fighting rules, such as not focusing on who is to blame, being specific about what the problem is, and regulating emotions while engaged in conflict. Modeling healthy relationships sets the tone for those around you and can encourage others to have healthy relationships themselves, which in turn can have the cumulative effect of reducing intimate partner violence. Part of modeling healthy relationships also includes understanding and practicing consent. Consent should be a part of everyday activities and is especially important in any sexual interaction that we choose to engage in. Often when people think of consent, they think of this really complicated definition, contracts, but really it's simply just getting permission before proceeding. A simple way to remember consent is the FRIES acronym. Consent must be freely given. You cannot coerce someone or force another person into something that they are not comfortable with. Consent is reversible, meaning that even if someone is already engaging in the act, they can tell you they want to stop and this boundary should be respected. Consent is informed. To give consent, a person has to be fully aware and understand the decision that they are making. We know that a person's consumption of drugs or alcohol can alter their ability to make informed decisions, therefore, they may not be able to give consent. Consent is enthusiastic. Voluntary and enthusiastic reaction should be what you strive for in your intimate or sexual interactions. And finally, consent is specific. Yes to one thing does not mean yes to everything. Good communication with your partner ensures that you are on the same page about what type of sexual activity you want to engage in. Another thing you can do to prevent sexual violence is to challenge harmful attitudes and myths about sexual violence. There are several myths that have been disproven about sexual violence, including the following. 1. Sexual violence is usually perpetrated by strangers. So this is false. Sexual violence is most often perpetrated by someone that the victim knows. 2. Sexual violence does not happen to men. This is also false. Studies show that 1 out of every 10 rape victims are male, and 1 in 33 men experience attempted or completed rape in their lifetimes. And 3, what someone is wearing impacts their likelihood of being sexually assaulted. This is a common myth. What someone is wearing has no bearing on whether they are likely to be sexually assaulted, and this is an especially harmful myth because it places the blame on the victim rather than the perpetrator. So speaking of stepping up and calling in, you can play an active role in stopping harmful behavior as it is occurring through bystander intervention. Bystander intervention is simply acting when you see something concerning. We will review 4 ways that you can act. Number 1, if you see something occurring, you can directly say something to the potential victim or the person engaging in harmful behavior. You can ask, is everything okay here? Or say, hey, that's not okay. Number 2, you can create a distraction. If someone is saying something problematic, change the subject. Distracting the person engaging in the harmful behavior often gives the potential victim an opportunity to get away or disengage. Number 3, you can delegate. If you do not feel comfortable getting directly involved, you can ask someone else for help. This may include someone with authority, like a residential advisor, a bouncer, a bartender, but it can also include someone from your friend group that may feel more comfortable addressing the situation directly. Lastly, if you feel the situation is dangerous, you may want to delay action. If possible, try to document the incident so that the situation can be addressed at a later time. You can do this by recording on your phone or taking notes. Lastly, you can make an impact on preventing sexual violence by getting involved. The University of Memphis has two active student organizations dedicated to preventing sexual violence and providing support to survivors. Safety Net is a peer-led support group for survivors, and SAPAC is a group that educates the campus community through trainings, events, and outreach. They have a dedicated group of peer educators that you can apply to be a part of. We also have several annual community-wide events where you can show your support, including Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, Take Back the Night, and Sexual Assault Awareness Month in April, which includes the Healthy Relationships Fair. You can follow us on social media and Tiger Zone to learn more. We want to leave you with a couple of reminders. If you're enrolled in ACAD 1100, we'll be coming to your class to facilitate a workshop on this subject where we'll be going into more detail and give you the opportunity to engage in real-life scenario-based discussion. As University of Memphis students, you're required to take an online sexual assault prevention course. You will receive an email in August via your University of Memphis email account directing you to take that training. So if you can, please complete it at your earliest convenience. And this is what it will look like. Here's our contact information if you need to reach us. Thank you for your attention, and we look forward to seeing you in the spring.